Okay, so today I have a couple of ideas or a couple of thoughts about some of the things that I've looked at in the news today. For example, we saw a news article about Kelowna, BC, where some fire crews were forced to halt air operations to drop water onto the forest fires because there's a whole bunch of drones flying around the area. Now, am I the only one here that thinks that this is the most silly thing that ever happened? People who own drones, yes, I know you want to see what's going on, you want to be sure that, you want to be right in there in the forefront of things. This is our society, we want to see everything right up front. But honestly, you got a forest fire to fight. Do you think for 1 minute that these planes and the helicopters and everything else that has to go down, drop, pick up water to drop it onto the forest fire, do you really think that somehow or other they can just go ahead and fly wherever your drones are, and that your drones aren't going to be interfering, and that the pilots themselves aren't going to be scared? It's like having a bird strike with these planes and these helicopters. Really? Come on, people, wake up. I know you're really interested in being the first to see everything, and you have that mentality, that psychology, that somehow or other you're entitled to it. You have to see things. You have to be participating. But honestly, you're going to send your drones where the copters are coming and the planes are coming on top of the forest fire so you can see what? Flames, you can see smoke, you can find out how bad it looks, so you can tell yourself what? Whoa, that looks terrible? Hey, wake up, people. And then there's the other article in the news today. HitchBOT, you know, that tiny little robot that was made up of all the spare parts from all over the place by two Canadians. Okay, it was sent, the idea was that this robot would go, and it was a passive robot. The only thing it could do was put out its hand to hitchhike. Okay, would hitchhike across Canada originally. So, okay, it hitchhiked across Canada. It was able to have limited conversation with people while they were in the cars. Some people brought it from one place to another. Some people brought it to their parties. Some people brought it to their family gatherings. It went through Canada, and it went through Europe, and with only one tiny little scratch on its faceplate. Then it got into the United States. And only in the United States did they actually sit down and destroy it. There was an article in the news today. In Philadelphia, people destroyed a robot. Now tell me, how really threatening can this little tiny robot that wears rubber boots, kids' rubber boots, and rubber gloves, okay, and has a plastic bowl for its head, how threatening can that be? And yet, in the United States, they managed to go ahead and destroy what the rest, Europe and Canada, never did. Good for you, US. Atta go. You've managed to save and protect your country from another invasion, the invasion of the HitchBOTs. Then there's the International Olympic Committee that now has to deal with what they say is the pollution in Rio. Now, Rio's supposed to get the Olympics next year. Does it look like they're ready? Does it look like they're going to clean up the water? Oh no, they say, it's not a problem. It meets certain international specifications, so the athletes, they can go ahead and they can use the water. They can do all the races in the water. It's not a problem. We're just polluted. We have, viruses and things in the water that can kill you, that can make you really sick. And hey, the athletes will deal with this, not a big deal. So who made the decision to send this Olympics to Rio, even though Rio made all these promises that they could do, which we know from past experience, they never do follow up on their promises. So now we're sitting there and the Olympic Committee is sitting there saying, hey, we got to do something about this. Guess what? The Olympics are coming up in just a few months. Spring next year. Really? Honestly? You're going to clean up a water that you haven't been able to do for 4 years? Not a hope in hell. So honestly, who were the bright minds that decided to do this and put this in Rio? I agree, Rio needs it. I agree Brazil really would be wonderful if they could put on a really great show, and they probably will. But at the end of the day, will the athletes themselves be hurt? This whole Olympic thing in my opinion at least, has become a political football. The idea of the Olympics was originally to transcend the politics of the world, bring together a bunch of athletes from every country so that it would transcend the politics of each country. But it's become the political football of every country, so that now, Olympics, countries vie for the right, the privilege, whatever you want to call it, to put on a show for the Olympics. They spend a fortune that their citizens can't really afford. Billions of dollars. Look at what Russia spent, $50 billion. And yet at the same time, there they are, and they can't even increase the cost of living for their own people. You know, where's the reality? Where's the brains in all of this? Where's the common sense in all of this? We've forgotten that the whole point of the Olympics was to bring together athletes from various countries to give them an opportunity to compete against each other where really they wouldn't be subjected to the politics of the world. Well, guess what? The Olympics are all about politics these days. And don't get me wrong, I love the Olympics, but I sure don't like the politics behind it. Oh yeah, and then the final article, I was looking at the news today. The city of Toronto in Canada, okay? They've decided that they're advising people that they have to stop foraging for food and scouring public places for edible plants and mushrooms that can damage the ecosystem. So what they're saying is, okay people, you know, you're too poor to eat, we know. You need to live off food banks, we know. We don't have a country where we can really take care of everybody, we know. But you can't go out and pick mushrooms and wild plants and everything else because, it damages our ecosystem. Really? Honestly? It damages the ecosystem? I mean, really, at the end of the day, feed the people. They won't have to go out there and feed them good food. Don't just feed them good food. The reason people go out and forage for plants is they don't want the food that they can get in the grocery stores. And they can't afford the food in the grocery stores in the first place. I know. I used to be poor. I know what it's like to forage for food. I used to go with my father when I was a kid. We used to go to the forest. We used to pick up wild garlic and wild onions and wild strawberries, and we picked up blueberries, and we did this. We didn't pick mushrooms because we didn't know anything about them. But the people that do know mushrooms, that come over from Europe, who do this on a regular basis, they want to go and pick mushrooms. Now, mind you, a few of them, they picked some really wild mushrooms and they got sick, and that's not a good thing. Don't mistake one type for another type. But be that as it may, why are the city of Toronto saying, sorry guys, you can't go into our ravines, you can't go into anything in the city to pick food, wild food, you should go to the grocery store. What a great idea. And on a final note, that brings me back to an article that was a long time ago, maybe this past week, where two young boys in the city of Cornwall, Ontario, were told that they could no longer sell worms the way they were selling. These two boys went out and really got worms by themselves. They went out and picked night crawlers, okay? They learned how to pick worms from their father, so they picked worms and made a little business out of it for the summertime, where they would set up the worms in nice little cans on their porch, and with a little sign that said, hey people, if you want worms, it's $2.50, leave the money in the can, pick the worms, and off you go. City of Cornwall said, hey, you can't do that. That's against the rules. That's against the law. We have a law in place where if you have a business, you have to be at a certain point. You can't have a business on your front lawn. You can't invite people to your front door. Really? Honestly, Cornwall? Are you that bloody short of money that you have to stop two young boys, I think they were 8 and 12, from making money for the summertime? Next thing you know, Revenue Canada will be knocking on their door saying, hey, you made money, we need our taxes from it. Where's our HST? Oh, absolutely. Honestly, come on people, wake up, get a little common sense in this world. Common sense will stop you from going after two little boys trying to make a buck. Common sense will stop you from actually flying drones on top of a fire. Common sense will stop you from, beating up on a HitchBOT that can't fight back. And most of all, common sense will make you realize that, hey, maybe we should be looking at places and cities for the Olympics that can actually afford it. And also let's limit how much money they can spend. Let's not encourage them to spend a grand amount to show off their country. And at the end of the day, you take all that money from the people when it could go to the people. Anyhow, that's my ideas today. Whatever you think, whatever you want, comments, suggestions, hey, I don't care. Put them on there. Get back to me. Make your comments. What do you think about what I've said? And that's it. That's all I got.